Get the hottest and coolest color trends. La Revue.
Okay, guys, are you ready to see life in colors? First, I want to know, what is a gradient? What is your definition of gradient?
Well, so if you think about the word gradient, it's a derivative of gradual. We're talking about how color can be subtle or super extreme.
You can see horizontal layers. It gets brighter and lighter at the end, or more vibrant.
Can we say that gloss, having something glossy, is just trying to have something like you have the sunlight, a kind of sunlight effect?
Yeah, having eye gloss on your hair, for me, it can be on top of a balayage or on top of any kind of technique, but this eye gloss basically will pump up the hair, gives volume, and make your hair looks very healthy.
When I look at these images, the thing that I notice is how the light is bouncing off in different areas of the hair. So the gradient, for example, on the redhead, lives on the ends, right? And then we have the gradient that lives more in the mids on the brunette. And then the last one that we have, it's more about around the face. And what's really interesting is that because of the high gloss color, Light, the blonde actually has super, super shiny hair. And we know that blondes typically don't have shine. In general, this is what drives business into our chair, and this is how we keep them coming back, by giving them really beautiful, healthy, and shiny hair.
I guess there are so many steps to have that kind of result.
That's a great question and a point. And again, it all depends on the haircut. So I think that when you have something that's more one length, it's more about making sure that the application is really smooth and that you saturate really well.
Well, for me, for example, in those look, my favorite one is the one from Danielle Garner, because when I do color, I will say the blondes are the most difficult. The perfect blonde is the most difficult to achieve.
Well, and Charlie, I disagree with you. I think that shocking, right? I think that brunettes are more challenging than blondes because you have to deal with that undercoat.
Okay, next up, this is one of my biggest obsession of the moment. Pastel gradients.
I just think that what's really cool about all of these colors is how the style and the color really play together, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So even with Berni, it's almost like you have more of a vertical gradient, which is coming from the way the hair is styled and pushed to the top, versus Peter from Norway. If you look at that, the gradient is really concentrated around the core of the hair. And then as the mullet, or the shag, cuts away and reveals, you see that there's a gradient from dark to light.
Is there a color more difficult to have than another one?
When I look at it, I think that grace is really the one that's a bit more difficult to achieve, because you have that gradient where it goes from something really rich and vibrant to really soft and subtle on the ends. What do you think, Charlie?
I do think the one from Peter can be a bit tricky as well in terms of different shades of blues. What I will do to achieve the Peter look, I will lighten the hair to the lightest blonde possible. Then I will apply a direct pigment on the roots, leave it on for a while, and then when I'm about to rinse it, I will drag the color through the lengths to get this washed out effect, tie-and-dye effect.
You don't ask me the question, but I will tell you, my favorite one is from Netherlands. How do you get that look?
When you do techniques, it's like being a painter. So to do an amazing painting, you need to have the best canvas. So it's about stripping out colors and make it the perfect canvas for you to be able to apply any kind of blush, any kind of gradient, any kind of pastels you want after on top of it. There is so many different yellows, so many different oranges, red. I mean, all the colors are so different, and we also have a very definition of, for example, what's a pastel, what's a neon, you know.
Okay, and as there is no limit to color, here is another category for you guys, color block.
What I love about color block, basically, is really fun for the client, for the person that get it, but also for the hairdresser, because you really play with different placements. You can really make it very personalized to every client you have.
If you look at the images, you can tell that Jamie's image is definitely more editorial. It's got that whole vibe. But what I really love about Yoko from Korea and what Jérémy did is that it's really about this playful placement, right? So it's a bit unexpected. You've got a haircut in a shape that's more commercial, but by putting this block of color, not only does it add some interest, but it can also contour someone's face shape too.
The first one will be something very difficult to achieve on a client. It looks great on a picture and it looks great for an editorial or on a wig, for example. But on a client, for them to maintain it, it will be very difficult.
When you have a two-tone green hair, how do you turn the person bleach blonde? I mean, what is the secret?
Let me show you. There is a secret. You have to wear wigs because you have to respect the quality of your hair.
Wigs and hair pieces are typically what you see on celebrities, so that's definitely something that I point out to my clients. But the other thing that they have to have is patience, right? So it's going to take time, and that's why wearing a wig for someone that's not willing to go through the process of transitioning is going to be an investment. If you want your looks featured on Revue, make sure you post your photos on Instagram with the hashtag #RunLaHairShow.
La Revue.
Thanks for joining us for La Revue. Keep watching more Run the Hair Show now.